For many, Disney's Lorcana is more than just a trading card game. It's a trip back to a world of stories and enchantment. An opportunity to remember colourful characters who made us feel a myriad of emotions. Some made us laugh, some scared us, some had us on the edge of our seats, and some traumatised us. We're only 2 sets into the Lorcana TCG, and already the game has brought us a wide cast of beloved Disney characters. Meaning whether you like old Disney, modern Disney, or all of it, there is likely a character or song which will make you smile. The introduction of the Dreamborn and Floodborn archetypes are also particularly exciting. Dreamborn are glimmers of Disney characters who have been summoned to the world of Lorcana, but slightly changed through the imagination of the ink caster who created them. While Floodborn glimmers are characters who have been touched by a flood of mixed magical inks, a central part of Lorcana's narrative and theming. The mixed ink turns our beloved characters into something different, becoming older, wiser, smarter, more fabulous, more inspired, and the list goes on, giving us fans intriguing what-if scenarios to inspire our imaginations. I've absolutely loved seeing some of my favourite Disney characters illustrated in stunning new artwork, including some unsung heroes from my youth. But, I've got to be honest, the channel name will tell you, as much as I do like a happy ending, all my life, I've been far more into the villains. Amidst the heroes, heroines, and even famous comedy relief roles, it's the villains who often steal the spotlight, captivating us with their sinister charm and iconic malevolence. As a devoted fan of Disney's darker side, I always felt myself drawn to the intricate web of wickedness spun by these nefarious characters. Their cunning schemes, hauntingly memorable personas, and the deliciously theatrical flair they bring to the screen have made them an integral part of the Disney experience. We've already had a substantial number of great no-gooders, including my absolute #1 favourite. But there's still a lot that could potentially join us. Today I'm going to talk about 5 villains that I would love to see come to the game. As a note, as we are still to get any Pixar characters, and there's been no official word on if we ever will, I'm leaving them off of this list. But if enough people want it, I will do a Pixar-only edition of this list, so let me know in the comments. But for now, let's look at 5 villains I want to see in Lorcana. Our first entry is technically a 2-for-1, but would you really want me to separate one of the most iconic of duos in all of pop culture? Anastasia and Grizella Tremaine are the conniving daughters of Lady Tremaine, who has already been quite heavily featured in Lorcana. And while she holds her crown as the main villain of the story, I think the sisters have had a far greater effect on mainstream media, becoming archetypal figures, influencing the portrayal of similar characters in various parodies and homages across different media.
Why, that's us, and I'm so eligible.
And with the pantomime version of Cinderella often cutting the role of Lady Tremaine altogether to focus on the stepsisters being the central villains of the show, while also leaning into their comedy relief, as is also portrayed in the Disney film. I know this because having spent most of my life as an actor, I've been cast as one of the ugly sisters on 3 separate occasions. The sisters are also responsible for perhaps one of the most famous villainous scenes in Disney history, as they metaphorically and literally tear Cinderella's dreams apart right before her eyes.
Girls. That's quite enough.
We've been seeing a pattern of Disney characters that often come together, having cards that reflect that relationship, and I see no reason why they wouldn't do the same here. I'd put them in amber, and thematically, I like the idea of their main gimmick being item destruction, so here are the mock cards I've made up for fun. Shan Yu is the leader of the Hun army, a considerable force with one singular purpose: destroy and conquer. Disney villains tend to come with unique aesthetics, but there's something about the silhouette of Shan Yu that I always found particularly disturbing, from his unhuman-like physique to his piercing gaze. Shan Yu, however, is not merely a symbol of brute force, as he demonstrates a vast intellect in military prowess and cunning. He's also slightly removed from a lot of classic villains who double up as a comedy relief role. Shan Yu is devoid of such things. His serious and relentless nature sets him apart, making a more ominous and more formidable antagonist. Though that doesn't stop him from demonstrating a more malevolent sense of humour.
Besides, the little girl will be missing her doll. We should return it to her.
Something else that makes him a standout villain is his absolute lack of fear. This is not a leader who sits back and waits for orders to be carried out. He can be seen front and centre in every scene involving the Huns, even being the one to lead the charge down the snowy mountains towards Mulan and her companions. Something the Hun leader soon regretted after Mulan's swift actions which wiped out the entire army in one fell swoop. Well, almost. This rising from the dead type scene is one of the most iconic in Disney history and should definitely play into the theming of Shan Yu's Lorcana card. His Storyborn card could have an ability to return him to the board if banished via an action, and then something simple like Challenger 3. Seems fitting.
All hail our rightful ruler, King Candy.
Hello, my royal subjects! Have some candy!
I wouldn't have included this entry if it wasn't for the fact that Rise of the Floodborn included a card based on Wreck-It Ralph, but this has to mean the entire film's cast is fair game, although I won't hold my breath for a Sonic the Hedgehog Lorcana card, as much as I would love that. Far more likely, however, is the film's antagonist, King Candy. I'm a big fan of the King of Sugar Rush. He has a very Mad Hatter-like demeanour to him, portraying him in a very goofy way, with his lanky stature and exaggerated features contributing to his memorability. His character becomes even more interesting, however, when we first see him dive into the code of his game to manipulate it for his own ends. His eventual reveal as Turbo, a jealous and attention-seeking character from an old game who game jumped when another racing game was getting more attention than him, resulting in both games' plugs being pulled for good. But hold on, that's not even his final form. After being gobbled up by a cybug, Turbo turns into a powerful virus and morphs into a creature that wouldn't be too out of place in a Resident Evil game. It may not be to everyone's tastes, but I really enjoy this final villain fight, and the King Candy character in general. I've had to give two examples of cards for him here, a Storyborn and a Floodborn version. Both would be in Emerald. The Storyborn applies chip damage to the opposing board, and the Floodborn has deck destruction.
I now see the path to our glorious return to power.
Our next entry comes from The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, a tragically underrated masterpiece, which, in my opinion, and I'm aware just how hot a take this is, but the music from Lion King 2 is better than Lion King 1. And hey, that's not an insult to The Lion King, the music in the original is legendary, and Be Prepared, sung by Scar, is a top 3 Disney song of all time for me, and a top 3 villain in general, so no disrespect, but Simba's Pride has a sensational score, from We Are One to He Lives in You, One of Us, and one of the greatest female Disney songs of all time, My Lullaby. Sleep, my little Kovu, let your dreams take wing. One day when you're big and strong, you will be a king. Zira is the mother to Kovu, the cub chosen by Scar to follow in his footsteps as the next king of the Pride Lands. A young Kovu meets and befriends Simba's daughter Kiara while on her first hunt. This leads Zira to hatch a cunning scheme where Kovu would infiltrate Simba's pride, pretending to have left his mother and opening the opportunity to enact revenge in the name of Scar. Kovu, however, falls in love with Kiara, and after bonding with Simba and learning the truth about Scar, he turns his back on his mother for good. Fueled by this, along with the death of her other son Nuku, she reacts by mounting a full-scale attack on Simba's territory with her own pride. This comes to an end, however, after Kiara appeals to the lions that they should be living and working together. Zira, however, unable to accept this, continues to fight, leading to her untimely demise as her own pride and hate prove too strong to overcome. Zira is one of my favourite Disney villains, and she absolutely deserves a place in Lorcana. As a note, I also want to see Kovu in the game, but I feel like he would be an ally prince, but his Floodborn version could be a villain. Kovu, Scar's successor. There's a bonus one for you. But yeah, here's what I've come up with for Zira. And of course, the song itself needs representation. I've tried to make her theming draw comparisons with Scar, Vicious Cheetah, and the song Be Prepared. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. That's my lullaby. Claude Frollo longed to purge the world of vice and sin, and he saw corruption everywhere except within. Hunchback of Notre Dame is among my favourite Disney films, and if it wasn't obvious by now, I tend to gravitate towards the darker and grittier stories. This captivating narrative is paired with a stunning soundtrack, including The Bells of Notre Dame, which is my favourite prologue of all time. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that a good villain is what it takes to take any good story and make it great, and Judge Claude Frollo fills that role expertly.
Burn it.
After accidentally ending the life of a woman in Paris, Frollo discovers her deformed baby, and believing it to be a demon, makes to drop it down a well. He is stopped, however, by the Archdeacon of the church, who appeals to Frollo's religious beliefs, informing him that his immortal soul will pay the price for his deed. Fearful, Frollo agrees to adopt the child, with the condition that he be homed at the top of the bell tower so that no one would ever have to look upon such a monster. Frollo demonstrates many of the qualities that we associate with villains: arrogance, selfishness, cruelty, but the role also explores more mature themes such as his internal struggle of desire, which aid to make him an even more repulsive villain. His time comes to an end after revealing the truth to Quasimodo about the passing of his mother, and after failing to send him to the same fate, the cathedral itself turns its back on the judge, sending him falling into the fires of hell. Frollo is an incredibly impactful villain and justly earns his place at the top of my list. His card simply has to be a good one, and once again, I can't pass up the chance to give his song a spotlight too. Let me know if you think this is too OP. And that's it for my list. What do you think of my choices? Is there a villain I missed that you really want to see? Let me know down in the comments. And also let me know which characterization you'd like me to focus on next if I do another one of these sort of lists. Allies, kings and queens, you tell me. But that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please do subscribe for all things Lorcana, hit the like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.